Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're not. How you doing, man?
All right, bro. What's going on?
Good,
It's
man.
been
Good to see you, man.
it's
Wow.
been
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
kind of low. I'm trying to think. Let me get my volume up. Uh,
How about
can you
now?
hear me clear? Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
I don't know
Here.
why yours is kind of low.
Hello?
I'm not sure why it's kind of low on your end. You hear me normal voice, normal volume?
Yeah, I hear you normal volume.
Yeah. It, it's really low.
Yeah, I got my mic all the way turned up. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
So, bro, how you pronounce your name? I don't wanna butcher it. We can go on.
Yeah, it's all good. It's Mboybe Ishangi.
And boy Bay Ashanti. And
Yeah,
boy Bay
Mboybe. Yeah,
and boy
yeah.
Bay Ashanti.
Mboybe.
And Bay
Mboybe.
and boy Bay
Yep.
and boy Bay Ashanti.
Yep. Yep.
Got you. Got you. And boy Bay
I
Ashanti.
think I think I'm a see if I can connect you to a speaker because I can barely hear you, man. If I connect you and see if that'll help. 'Cause I can I'm having a hard time hearing you, and I'll make sure to be clear. So I hear everything.
Got
One second, let me plug this in. Oh. Okay. Okay. Plug this in. All right, let's see if I can still. Okay. You hear you?
test 1 2.
Dang, I can't even hear you. Damn.
Test
Check,
1 2.
check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Nah, it's not working.
It's not working.
All right, I'll just have to listen because it sounds low, but I'll just have to listen and see if I can hear everything.
You don't have headphones?
I do have
Yeah, try
headphones. Let's
headphones.
see if that'll do it. That might help. You're right. Okay, say something.
Test 1 2.
Better.
Better.
You're right. Damn. That shows how much I'm thinking. That's a lot better.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Word.
All right, just one more time. Boy Bay
And boy bay.
and boy
And
Bay
boy. Nuh-uh. Just boy bay.
Bay
And boy bay.
and Boy Bay
Yep. That's it.
and Boy Bay.
Yep. If you remember do you remember Robin Harris, the comedian?
Yeah.
Remember Bebe Kids?
Yes.
So think of Bebe Kids, but instead of saying Bebe, it's Boy Bay.
Boy.
So there's a
Boy
there's a Boy Bay. There's a W in the first one. Boy
Bay.
Bay. No, just boy. Put a W. Boy Bay. And then just put M Boy Bay.
Okay, one more time. Let's see it one more
It's
time.
all good. All good.
Yeah, one more time.
M. So it's all good. It's M Boy. Yeah.
M Boy
Bay.
Bay. M Boy
Yep.
Bay.
M Boy Bay. Yeah.
Okay. M Boy Bay.
Yep. M Boy Bay.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Let's do countdown for 30 seconds. So. Hey, hey, what's up, Saucy Nation? It's your boy Jeff, and first and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Son of Howard Shah, who the word called Jesus Christ. Keep God first in everything I do, and the Saucy family, and this is another episode of Saucy Conversations. Appreciate you for joining us today, and we are live on our YouTube channel, and we're also live on Facebook. Also, before I get to my guest for today, um, don't forget to hit the link in our bio right now, or hit the link in the description on our YouTube channel and go support our sponsor. The sponsor is Click A Vodka, and you can have Click A Vodka shipped to your house as long as you spend over $50. And also shout out to Holistic Remedy. Holistic Remedies, they have CBD oil, body butters, and everything. And don't forget the promo code HR Me Saucy at checkout, and you get 10% off. Right. Shout out to that. Shout out to Renice, and shout out to Mac who couldn't make it today. And I got a special guest today. I've been knowing this brother for a very long time. He's out there doing his thing. This brother's an author. He's also the founder of, let me get this right. He's also the founder of Crypto Woke Financial Sustainability. I got Mobea Bay. Did I say it right?
Mboybe.
Mblebe.
Mboybe. Yeah.
Mblebe.
I know it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's all good though.
It's Sani.
It's Shangi.
It's Ashani. It's
Yeah.
like saying Ashanti, but Ashani.
It's Shangi.
Ashangi. Okay, got you.
Yes.
Mabea
Yes.
Ashani. Welcome to Social Conversations, brother.
Give thanks, brother. Give thanks. It's been a minute, right? Or it's good to see you.
So how you doing, man? How's everything? How you holding up during this whole pandemic? Is what I call it. Well, how you
Right.
holding up, brother?
I mean, for the most part, I've even had to tell myself is like focus on the things that you can control, because there's a lot of chaos out there, a lot of information, misinformation, back and forth. You don't know what it's just like we're being bombarded from different angles of stuff, and it takes you off of your pivot, takes you off your square. And, for me, it's like, if you dive too much into that, you lose your balance. So, I just really been like, I'll dip in for a minute just to get an idea of what's going on, what they blabbering, and then I'll step back out and focus on what I can control. That's really all we can do. And the most important thing in controlling is making sure that your immune system is strong, eating as much of the right foods and getting the liquids and getting the rest and alleviating the stress, doing those basic things. Because again, now we're seeing it doesn't matter whether you shot or not, you're still catching it. So it's just a matter of, what are you putting in your mouth? And if you are putting the right things in your body and you're feeding your cells right, then in most cases, you'll come out on the other end, at least be able to survive it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Brother, take us to the beginning, man. Take us to your upbringing. Where did you grow up? How was your household?
Okay. I mean, I had I came, my mother, she was amazing woman, single parent. I was one of those guys that fell into that statistic, me and my two sisters, where we had a broken family. My father was pretty much just an organ donor, or, he brought me into this world, but that's about it. And that put me on a path of really trying to figure out, what it is that to be a man who's had to define myself, because I didn't have any brothers. I had a cousin, it's like my brother, but for the most part, I had to figure out manhood, and sports played a big part of it. We both worked at the NBA, and that was one of the things I always wanted to do was play for the NBA, but I got as close as working for it, But in general, the essence of understanding the importance of family, understanding the importance of defining myself, those things came later on when I was in college, and having to re-identify myself once I realized that after Karis One came to my university in '91, and he exposed some things that I had never really thought of before, and that put me on a journey of self-reclamation. Understanding who I am and where I come from, and how I can use that to move forward.
Right. So we hear
Right.
different stories of sons growing up with their father. How was the process for you actually dealing with that when your father not being in the household?
It wasn't fun. But actually, my mother did such an amazing job. I didn't really know I needed one until I became old enough to have to figure out, what does a man do? How do you shave? Like those basic
Right.
things that my mother couldn't share with me. That's when I really realized, okay, this is what a man is supposed to teach me. And because there wasn't one there, I had to figure it out. And I wouldn't want that on anybody. But that isn't a crutch either. It gave me the desire to want to figure this thing out. And in the world, you have examples. You have good and bad examples, and I have both to understand what I wanted in life. What to stay away from and what to get into. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's not a crutch. It's basically a decision, and you could either deal with as they say, you're dealt a certain hand of cards. It's how you play with them. And I decided I wanted to, be on the positive end, and sports helped me with that as well. And just the love that my mother and my sisters, we all had with each other, that gave me the enough foundation to stay balanced.
Gotcha, gotcha. So
Yeah.
tell about your mother. What is like a couple of things that you actually learned from your mother and took away, and how to help you now in adulthood?
Wow. My mother, man, she worked two and three jobs before it was normal. Like today, now people have a second job. Like that's, you don't have a second job. But my mother, she was working two and second and third jobs, in the 80s. And she was, but still had time for us. You know what I mean? It's one thing that I learned is about working hard, and understanding that despite the situation, consequences, whatever, that you have to rely on yourself more than anything else. And that's not necessarily a bad thing when you know that you're your greatest cheerleader. You're not looking for someone else to help you out when you know that, okay, I have hands, I have a mind, I'm able-bodied, so let me go out here and do it myself. So that's one thing that she definitely hit me off with, is having the determination and will to go after whatever it is that you want to attain in life, despite, and do it unapologetically despite the odds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, my next question to you is, in school, what were some of your favorite topics or classes for you that you was really interested in?
Yeah, I would say I was always a lover of astronomy. With today being the winter solstice, I've always loved about what space. I always thought about looking up. A lot of us, we don't spend enough time. We're always looking what's in front of us, and very seldom look up and see, well, what is going on out there? Because there's things going on out there that we can't see and we can't hear, but there's something going on, and that something going on affects what's happening here. The other thing that I liked is we had this Toastmasters in high school, so I love to speak. I was always a performer. We had, playing sports or in plays or, talent shows. I was a dancer. I was not afraid to get in front of people and, perform. So Toastmasters actually was something I loved because it enabled us to just speak off the cuff about whatever you're feeling, and taught me the confidence of being able to address any crowd, be it one or 100 or 1,000 people, and do it confidently. Yeah.
Mm, right, right. Absolutely, man. My next question for you is, in high school, going to college, what was the mindset of transitioning? Because things are getting very serious. You know, your mother still wants you to get your education, and by the other hand, you want to play basketball. So when
Mm.
it comes to reality, like, the basketball ain't gonna work out for me. And what was the process of, look, I need to look towards something else and focus on that, or what I want to, focus on in the future.
Yeah. I was fortunate, man. I was fortunate because I was one of those kids that played sports for every season. I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and I ran track in the spring. And
Yeah.
track was the least I was good at until my junior year. And I had an outbreak year because I moved from being a hurdler, 110-meter hurdler, where I had the form, my coach said, but I wasn't fast enough.
Right.
And I became an 800-meter runner. So that's 2 laps. So ended up getting college in track. So that enabled me to go to Division I school, University of Pittsburgh. I ran there for 4 years. So that transition from high school to college made me understand that, I had aspirations of making the Olympics. As anybody else, you want to be at the highest level of the sport that you're involved in. It didn't work out that way. I had a couple of fractures. I had a cracked femur my junior year, and that set me back. And at that same time is when I got reawakened. That's when KRS-One came to my university and just blew my mind about the thought process of who we are and what our purposes in life are. So my senior year didn't end the way I wanted to be. I still competed, but my mind was elsewhere because now I was interested in becoming more knowledgeable about the world that I was entering, the workforce, my history, like who am I as a person, how am I viewed as a person, and this is the early 1990s, and as well I was becoming very vocal. So I started writing. I created a magazine in 1993 called the Ghetto Times magazine, and we're celebrating going on our 29th year. It's all mainly online right now, but I started writing. Just basically the things that I was learning, I want to share with our people. And I realized that standing on a soapbox, people got class to go to. So I started writing, and that evolved into me doing what I'm doing today, writing books.
Right.
Or
Did you get a scholarship to college?
yeah, I got a scholarship.
Oh,
Yeah, I got.
scholarship. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I was fortunate. I was lucky. I was
nice, nice.
lucky. But it sucks to be a scholarship, because you can't work, you can't make no money under scholarship. So I was broke.
Right,
I
right,
was
right,
there, but I
right.
was broke.
It's not like it is now. You got a scholarship going to college, and you're a top athlete. You get paid off your likeness now. Back then,
Facts.
it wasn't like that. It was ramen noodles and
Right.
bologna
Exactly.
sandwiches and shit like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. I know that life.
So you mentioned your website. You started with a magazine.
Hmm.
Um, what made you want to? Well, first of all, is one of your favorite things to do, and also, what was the process like? Where did you start actually? Hey, I want to make a magazine. Did you have anybody around you that can
Hmm.
help you in the process, or you just had to figure shit out by yourself?
I had to blame my mother. You
Mm,
know, a writer, number one, I was writing ebonically. So what that means is if people even familiar with my works, I was using Z's and I was using, street lingo
right,
to convey information. But the information I was putting out was the books written by our historians, John Henry Clark's, your Chancellor Williams, your Francis Cress Welsing's, Asa Hilliard's. So I was writing these articles kind of like taking cliff notes of what they had written because it was on the academic level. I nothing against them, but I felt like some of the works didn't really speak to people in the street. And
right,
that was who I wanted to address. So that's why I even called my magazine called the Ghetto Times. Like you have the New York Times, you have, the Los Angeles Times. Well, we need something for the ghetto. So it was the Ghetto Times.
right,
So it was our time to have information about. So I wrote about stuff that were in a language that we could digest, and then it would hopefully bridge that gap to you wanting to read those thick books with no pictures, written by our great giants that talked about our legacy so that we could get a position of where we are culturally, where we are spiritually, where we are politically, etc. Because that's one thing that since the days of Marcus Garvey, we still have been trying to figure out is, what is our stance? We have such an amazing purchasing power, but we still only have 1% producers as far as businesses are concerned. And that's systemically done, and that's based upon the lack of awareness of what's going on in the world. So that was my goal, was to write, and it turned into a passion because I was a speaker first, and I understood that people don't have time to sit there and listen to you for 20 minutes,
right, right,
much more even 6 hours, which some of our lectures do. So I said, what if I write it? Then you can read it at your leisure, and that's what it turned into. It started out as a newsletter. I wrote 1 month, and then the next month came by and I said I had more I want to say, and I put out another one, and then started doing it in months in succession. And then someone said, "Well, hey, can I put some in it too?" And that's when it turned into a magazine. I kind of like walk backwards into it. I didn't plan to do a magazine,
right, right,
but once I realized that this was something I could do, of course, I reached out to your Susan Taylors, and at the time, Vibe magazine. Uh, Keith Clinkscales was one of the guys that I tried to reach out to, and we had a brief interaction, and he told me a couple of things. Susan Taylor actually took my works, and she gave me an F on my writings. So I was like, "Word is like that," but it didn't deter me because I understood that I'm not trying to address the audience that you're reaching. And even in my writing in college, I got F's and D's. So I understood that if I'm writing the way you guys want me to write, then of course I'm gonna, but that's not how I want to write. And that's the rebellion in me to
right,
to write how I feel like, and that I felt our people could appeal to my writings, and it turned out that way that it did.
Yeah, so you just wanted your own lane. You
Yeah,
have your
yeah,
own audience. You wanted to reach that understand you.
absolutely, absolutely.
Nice, man. That's dope, man.
Give thanks.
So you said it's been 30 years since you had this magazine?
Yeah, well, it'll be 29.
29.
Come January 1st, it'll be our 29th year. Yeah, 29 years. Crazy. Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah. All right. So you didn't mention KRS One, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you was in college, early 90s, 91, 92, 93, around that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, tell us about what was going on um, in music and hip hop during that time,
Mm.
and how much it actually inspired your writing.
Word. Man, some people might get mad at me when I say this, but in the 90s, you know, there was the beginning of this East Coast versus West Coast hip hop, right? And I was biasly devoted to the East Coast because, from New York. So, like, that's what I banged to. And the South hadn't really developed its sound yet. So you had Dre and you had Snoop and NWA and all these guys coming out. And I was fighting my damnedest to not really like that type of music. One, because it was a little bit more violent, you know what I'm saying? So
Right. Right.
Eagles had our versions of violence. It wasn't like we were angels, but I could bang to the lyrics. I could understand the beats and everything. And so at the same time, I felt that West Coast hip hop or gangster rap was one of the annihilators of conscious hip hop because around that late 80s, early 90s was when conscious hip hop was coming. We had Self Destruction, we had,
Right.
these are the new school, Busta Rhyme. And so we had, Tribe Called Quest. There was some positive imagery of being African, loving yourself, and taking control of our history. And that was out there, Sister Soldier, etc., Public Enemy. But then you had West Coast rap or gangster rap came on the scene, and it blew conscious hip hop away. And we understand, if you do the knowledge, that that was strategically done by the record industry because they understood the appeal that conscious hip hop had. It was waking us up, and they didn't want that. So of course the A&Rs are like, "Now we're gonna kill that noise and basically bring in and push this new form of music." So I was biased from the gate. Like, I'm not feeling that. I wasn't a big Tupac fan. I'm not even a big Biggie fan, for those that may hate me. York, I was the guy that liked people that talked about selling drugs. I understood you had to do whatever you had to do, but to sell to your own people, that don't make no sense. I didn't condone those type of things. And I was looking for conscious hip hop. In fact, a friend and partner of mine, we had created a website in the early 2000s called conscioushiphop.com,
Wow.
where we were actually putting out information, seeking out independent artists that had positive messages and giving them a platform to put the information out. And because, by the early 2000s, conscious hip hop was, pretty much gone, that, we lost it. And, it just didn't pick up. Yeah.
Right. Right. So you graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so what is the next move for you? Are you just trying to find a 9 to 5, or you still have your magazine? So are you trying to like push your magazine more? Like what's your mindset during this time after college?
Yeah. The big thing is trying to figure out how to make money. And, now you have this degree. I taught for 6 months in the public school system, was trying to, and I wanted to teach African history, and they shut it down. They not, no, you got to do the curriculum. You're not going to be talking about all this other stuff. And so at the same time, the fraternity I was a member of, I'm no longer a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, but my fraternity brother he was a engineer, and we were in a computer lab one day, and he took one up because I'm an illustrator, so I would draw stuff. I would make flyers for parties and all that kind of stuff, draw types of stuff, do sweatshirt, all that design, all that stuff. And he took one of my images and he scanned it, put it on a computer screen. And when I saw it, I was like, yo, I want to learn how to do that. And that got me into computer graphics. I stopped teaching, and that computer graphics kind of fell hand in hand with me wanting to be a writer. So now in my writings, I could include some street art, so that, obviously visually that gets a person's eye. Now you get them to read the content. So, for me, it was trying to find a job that, to make some money, jobs were very scarce. I couldn't find a job in my field of work. And fortunately, I was using the magazine as a way to also create some funds. But it's still tough, in your early 20s, you're trying to make your way and find your way. So I was doing telemarketing, data entry, whatever I could to keep the lights on. But my heart was in studying and taking the information I learned to write it and disperse it to our people, because I felt like that was my niche.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what was your first? I would say your first breakthrough after college. I know you're trying to keep the lights on, but what was the first major thing that happened to you where you didn't have it? You didn't have to worry about all
Hmm. I would say when I decided that I had to become versatile, part for that big old thing in my computer. I had to be versatile and do different things. So I was like, you know what? I'm writing. I had this magazine. Let me start doing lectures. So I decided, again, pulling back from my Toastmasters, experience, let me go out on the road and start speaking. And great opportunities happen. I spoke at Fisk University. I spoke at Kentucky State University. I spoke at a lot of colleges for a period of time that enabled me to get more exposure. People are hearing about the Ghetto Times. I started doing interviews. One of my favorite and first interviews was done with Anthony Browder, who's a historian and a great Jegna friend of mine. When I did that in 1995 and had him on the cover of my magazine, that gave exposure. That got even Vibe magazine's attention. I had a couple of interviews to possibly do write columns for HBO. I even did an interview for back in the day on BET, the show they had. Oh, I can't remember the name of the show right now. Teen Summit. I was Teen Summit. Remember that? So I didn't get the job. I bombed the interview. But the bottom line is that it was giving me exposure, and I was like, all right. So this is. I really feel like I'm a journalist. I feel like I'm a perspective writer with a message, and my message was consistent about Black people learning about our history and reclaiming it and moving it forward into the, at the time, 90 now to now the 2020 now. What can we do it's great to talk about how great we were, the pyramids we built, etc. But how about let's build some pyramids in 2022? That's the goal, is to get us to that mindset.
right.
Yeah, facts.
Absolutely, absolutely. So ever since I met you and was talking to you and building with you, um, you like to travel a lot. So
Yeah.
when did you at what age you start traveling, and how did you what are things that you like about traveling?
Well, I didn't start to travel for joy until after I was an athlete. When I ran track, we were going every weekend. We were traveling all around the country with going to track meets. But that gave me the exposure and the interest. You're starting to see different things. But it wasn't until even working at the NBA, we started traveling, going to cities I never thought I would go to on my own dime. And just seeing that, things exist in different pockets. New York City it has a certain kind of stigma. We're all living on top of each other. You don't get to see backyards and driveways and garages and
Right,
all the cars on the street.
right.
You see streets with right. You don't see
Backyard.
you see streets with cars. Like out in other places, there are no streets on the car because they're in their driveway in their garage. So in seeing those type of things, it made me realize that, okay, travel is important. And then it wasn't until after, well, even while I was still at the league, I started with a friend of mine. They exposed me to traveling to Costa Rica. I went to Africa with my Jegna, Anthony Browder. That was one thing that I had, you know, always wanted to do. And when I finally did it, it was just a big thing for me because I felt like, damn, I'm actually going to, as the Muslims have their Mecca. Mecca is their homage or their I forgot what they call it, but basically they go and they do their I forgot what it's called, but you have thank you, the pilgrimage. You have Christians that go to Bethlehem, etc. Well, for me, going to Kemet, or the original name of Egypt, was my pilgrimage to going to the origin and to see and touch and be inside the pyramids I mean, and to see all the architecture and that these things on the hieroglyphs or the metal neter that's still on the walls tens of
Right.
thousands of years later, I'm not looking at books, I'm touching it and feeling it. That made me realize that this world, we're global. We're a global people. So
Right.
we shouldn't confine ourselves to our zip codes. And that got me into the love of travel, going to the Caribbean, going to, I haven't been to Europe yet, not really big on that. Haven't been to China, maybe get out there. But as far as going to the Caribbean, going to Brazil, going to South America, Central America, places where our people have a huge presence, and also there's some preservation and culture there as far as history. I'm all about it because I get the locals and learn about the things that I've forgotten through our generations from that slave trade, from that Atlanta, the Middle Passage, things that we've forgotten because we were brought here and our names were stripped and our drums were taken away from us.
Absolutely. So you
Yeah,
mentioned traveling to Egypt, finding out, learning things about Kemet. Did you go to the Valley of Kings and everything? You did that whole
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So what was your
Yeah,
biggest takeaway from that? And after that, I have another a follow up question about one of the pharaohs. I want to ask you about.
yeah. The Valley of the Kings, man. I mean, that to me is like when you see, it's kind of like there's a story that Napoleon, right? Napoleon in 1899, when he came to Kemet and he
Yeah,
saw the Sphinx, and it's called Hiramaket, and he saw at the time it was the sand was up to his neck. And when he saw this huge structure, obviously he was, amazed by it because at the time they never thought anybody could do anything. This is a wonder of the world. And they see this thing and how big it is. I had that same type of thought that wow, these things were made tens of thousands of years ago and they're still here. You buy something today, or you buy an IKEA bookshelf, you're good to have for maybe a year and a half, and then it starts
yeah.
breaking down.
I get a new one. Yeah,
Yeah, right. But we knew the importance of structure, and it wasn't just so much for it to be, to see how great we are at construction, but it was also to preserve the story. That was the one thing that I really appreciated. So the Valley of the Kings, these places where our ancestors were buried, these weren't necessarily tombs, as far as just burial tombs, but there was history there. There was preservation of the story in case people forgot. You can come here and read it on the walls because libraries and papyri, they can't live thousands of years. But if you write some in stone, more than likely it could be there for a long time. So that was what I was amazed about.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
so so one of my favorite pharaohs is King Tut, the boy king. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of rumors. I haven't been to the Valley of the Kings, but they said he was buried with a lot of swords and stuff like that because he during that time he was in war. So they were
Mm-hmm.
saying. So they were saying that I was watching some, I think Discovery Channel, something History Channel, something like that. So they were saying that his swords was not made of metal; it was made from something out of this world. Bringing us
Mm.
to the when you said earlier in the beginning that we so focused here, but we don't know how it connects, in space or the universe and stuff like that. Did you ever hear anything like that while you was in the tombs and all of that? Did you actually see swords?
I didn't hear anything about that story. I will absolutely ask my Jagna about it because I also know that some of these, and not to knock the story, but some of these documentaries and shows that are put on TV are used as, to get people to be interested. So they'll bring some mystique into it. We see here about did the aliens build the pyramids? I'm like, no, they were
Yeah,
actual
yeah,
people. They were,
yeah.
so they might put a twist on it to get you to be intrigued about the mystery of Egypt. But I'll ask him about that and get back to you on that. But I do know that you know there was things in there that I didn't even know existed. Like for instance, I our ancestors used condoms.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
had lambskin condoms in the museum. Like, so they had the beds. And the interesting thing about Kemet that I'm still trying to understand is when you go into the tombs, you just don't walk in like a door. Like, I'm 6'2", so I just can't walk in standing up. The doors are like probably this high, so you got to stoop down on all fours and sometimes back in first to get to the side of a tomb. The beds that they had, these beds weren't very big beds in the museum, so it leads you to wonder just how tall, our ancestors were. Um, and it, makes sense when we think about how now, 6'2" is considered tall, but kids are 13 and 14 at 6 foot. So we are, as I don't get caught up into the whole fact that were they aliens or were we midgets? No, but I do understand that there was a reason why they had the low passage doors, and you just couldn't walk through. I don't know what it was for. Maybe I was told bowing down was a form of reverence. So when you want to walk through a special ancient tomb, a special place, bowing down, you'd be forced to. So because of the height, that's also forcing you to show some respect and reverence in coming in through this pathway.
Right.
Yeah.
My next question for you. There always been this debate about um, I think her name was Hussetup, Queen Hussetup.
Hatshepsut.
Yes.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
there was I'm not sure if it's true or not, but like I said, I don't want to believe everything I see on TV or read, but they were saying that like her tomb had like they had to make something out of wood like a beard because all the kings had beards, like what they put on and something like that.
Yeah.
So they said that she put that on when she became a queen or king of Egypt after the king before that died.
Yes.
How true is that?
She was the first female. So she did wear a fake beard. She didn't grow a beard, so she would wear a beard. And I got to remember the story here because I'm going to mess it up for a little bit. But um, Queen Hatshepsut, her son, and I want to say it's Akhenaten, and I could be wrong. Please don't strike me if I'm wrong. But the information's out there. But her son, uh, he basically did not want. They basically wanted to get her out. They wanted to rid her out of it. So they actually did their best to erase her from the history.
Right.
There were statues of her that they dethroned, they tore them down. But she was the first female pharaoh, and she ruled with an iron fist. She was dope, and she is a woman of antiquity that a lot of people aren't aware of. So yes, she did have that fake beard, because she basically was saying, "I could do exactly what men can do and better." So that definitely, I always echo her energy. I saw that in my mother. She did what my father couldn't would never do, and that made me understand that there's no gender war here. We are all equal. There's balances, some things that we're good at that we're not, and they are, and etc. And if we see each other as that union, collectively we have much space.
Right. So
Yeah.
another thing they were saying that that is that King Tut's grandmother or great grandmother.
All right, you're
I
gonna mess me up on that one. I'm not. I'm a little rusty in my family tree of it. I want to say that is the grandmother, but don't quote me. But she isn't within the two family bloodlines. Yes, they are related.
right.
Yeah.
Um, with me, I always knew I had like Israelite blood in my family, but
Mm-hmm.
I never subscribed to it because I grew up as a Baptist. My father's pastor
Mm-hmm.
in a church and everything, but I always had family that would actually talk about it, the whole bloodline thing and everything. So one of the things that usually come up, or usually when I see, Israelites debate, or or people just debate in general of when it comes to Israelites and it comes to Egypt. Now, the Israelites like to say that they built the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 100% accurate by records?
You know, here's the thing about and I have a challenge with our people, right? Is that we find a way to segregate within ourselves and
Hmm.
not realizing that if we could just, Malcolm X said it, when black people come together, leave your God at home, because we will get in a battle about whose God is this or who likes butter on their toast and who doesn't, and we'll split like the Red Sea and not
Right,
deal with the actual issue. When we
right,
our common, let's say, they see us as black. Now, we could be called black, we could be called Negro, we could be called Moors, we could be called Israelite, we could be called African, any of those things, regardless, we are melanated beings and we come from the same lineage and we're catching the same hell
hmm,
globally. So while we're sitting over here trying to outdo the next black person and say, well, I'm more blacker than you, and I've done this and you haven't, and I've done it really is irrelevant when it comes to what is the common goal of what we're trying to achieve here, which is, sovereignty, which is being able to just be a regular human being and get people to stop messing with us. Can I just live my life? And I think that's the issue, the trap that we fall into, is that we'll get into these debates, and most folks that want to do these debates haven't stepped foot in Africa, haven't done the studies in Africa, haven't studied the timelines in Africa, and they may come from a religious perspective. Well, religion, is not as old as history. So if we go back to history before there was religion, then I think you're better off in getting the accurate depictions of what happened in history. But I don't, I understand when we talk about religion, then people are looking for a reason to argue, looking for a reason to fight, because we want to fight somebody, but we don't want to fight the real person, the one that's created all this chaos. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm not worried about what if the Israelites built the pyramids, because in most cases, I'm sure that whoever was there back then and at that time didn't identify themselves as Israelites. They call themselves something else. So it really, and to get caught up into, who wears the badge of honor, who was the first. The fact is that if you are a being on this planet and you spend time in the sun, you're going to be dark. You're going to have kinky hair. You're going to have broad noses and thick lips and thick hips. That is a topic that was created by Europeans to keep us disunited. So that's something I kind of stay away from, because it's an endless conversation. It gets us nowhere.
Right, absolutely. Drop a saucy bomb on that home.
Word.
So I got two more questions about Egypt, and we're gonna move on. That I want to
All
ask
right, all right.
you. So the next question I want to ask you is, you know how you said you talked about Napoleon, right? So Napoleon, he was shocked that he saw these big black faces, and he was chopping off the noses and stuff. He was amazed but jealous at the same damn time, right?
Facts.
So as you were talking about the first Queen Pharaoh, how they tried to destroy her her legacy,
image.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is there any actual facts that Moses was in was in Egypt? Was he a part of the royal family? Because I hear a lot of things that they try to tear down his legacy as well.
I can just say, and I'm only speaking from my studies, um, and I'm not a master a student of chematology or the study of chemet, but I will say that I haven't heard much of a Moses in that study. I have heard of Tutmos. Some people have said that Tutmos the third was Moses.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but nevertheless, I think the problem is that we kind of will dilute the religions into the history. And so we'll use the Bible as a reference, and then it mentions Egypt, but let's just understand this, that when did the Bible first surface? It has a beginning, it has an origin. And then also, this is one of the things that KRS-One has said to me, and I asked me, he said, when you open up the Bible, it says re-edited version. So a re-edit is that someone goes in there and takes in or takes out, putting or takes out a change in a script. So it's done on a consistent basis. You look, and there's so many versions of these books. So this isn't God per se going in there and changing and putting out a new edition, a new version. These are human beings going in there to change the narrative. And Winston Churchill said it best, that history is going to be kind to us, meaning European people, because I'm going to rewrite it. So when we understand that, we have to understand that history has been used as history has been used as a point of reference for folks to think that this is how it really went down. And we just regurgitate what we're told and don't do the research ourselves. We don't go out and do our travels and do the research ourselves. Read those very thick books. We want the article. We'll quote a person and think we know enough. We won't do the diligence on understanding the origin of time. Asa Hilliard said, if you want to study history, you got to do it in chronological order. What does that mean? That means if you're going to give me a date, then where was Africa in that date? The Bible, not to knock it, but to knock it is that it starts in the beginning. In the beginning, when's the beginning? Give me a date. I need to know the date so I can put things in perspective. But if you say in the beginning and you just say, oh, that was whenever, like that doesn't give me enough foundation to start my study to see what was going on. So that's, I think, the problem is that a lot of us, we're not true historians or true researchers. We're just master regurgitators of what we've been taught. And that's programmed through school. We're taught that in school. We're taught that George Washington never told a lie. Most people can spit that out real quickly because that was inundated. Same thing with all these other doctrinations, be it religion or be it politics or the whole nine. So the re-education of us is important. Let's go ahead and read those books, study those timelines, and then come up with your own perspective based upon the data that's presented.
Absolutely, and this is my last question.
Yeah.
As you mentioned that people who think that, I forgot the name you said, at Moses or something like that.
Tutmosis the third, yeah.
Yeah, at most the third. Um, there's a lot of mystery of who was actually the pharaoh at that time. Was it Ramses the first or was it second?
At which time when Moses was around?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'd have to get back to you on that because I'd have to figure out what year was Moses around. You know what I mean? And then you look at and for those that want some homework, bottom line is if you get that data when Moses was around, then go back and cross-reference that with the Egyptian dynasties. There were 27 total. And if you go by most of the European history books, they're going to tell you that there was only one dynasty that was ran by Black folks, and that was the 26th dynasty. But through the work of Anthony Browder, he's proven that through Karakamen and Karakamen and Karabaskin, they proved these were Kushite priests that the original dynasties in Kemet were in fact made by Black people, started by Black people, and in fact we were before the dynasties in Kush. So it's always been Black. And where is Kemet? It's in Africa. So let's understand that it's not in the Middle East. It's in Africa. Right. So I'm just saying that if we can get a date of when Moses was around, then find out when those dynasties were around, and then you can find out who was the pharaoh of that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Now you're an author. So when did you actually make the decision of actually writing your first book? What was the first book you actually published?
Yeah, my first book was Analytical Cogitations. Analytical cogitations basically means to analyze thinking deeply. That's what cogitations means, thinking deeply. And this book was written in retrospect to semi-biopic of what happened when I had that encounter with KRS-One. Because again, I told you he really messed me up. So I went on a journey from that point, and that experience I never forgot. And I was afraid to write about it because there was some paranormal activity. And I figured if I tell people this, they're going to put me in a padded room. So I kept it to myself for a matter of, I think it happened in 91. So it wasn't until 97 that I had the courage to write this. And the courage came because at the point I thought what I had experienced was authentic. I haven't experienced and being visited in your sleep and sleep paralysis, all these things. I thought that was something original for me. No one else ever had that, so I wasn't going to tell nobody. But when I learned that there's actually people have body experiences, people have gone places and come back. We go places every night when we go to sleep, mind you. When you go to sleep, you spiritually go somewhere, because when you lift your spouse's or your significant other's eyes when they're asleep, they can't see you. That means they're somewhere else, So when I realized that, I said, hey, my story isn't as authentic as I thought it is. So let me go ahead and sharing so that I can get some feedback and get some understanding, because other people may have had these same experiences. So that's what made me write my first book in 2007, Analytical Cogitations. And, I'm writing actually a follow-up right now. It's a physical book. It's called The Unknown Known. And the subtitle is During the Seldom Quest of Questions, because in the word questions is the word quest, and life is that. It's about a journey. And when you're trying to understand things, you ask questions. So this book is going to be about questions about the basic things that we probably thought when we were kids, but our parents or some authoritative figure said, stop asking, like, why, where did I come from? And what is my purpose? And we're told, stop asking those questions, just get in line. I'm addressing those type of topics because for me, it's always it's been something that's intrigued me. And I think a lot of us at some point or another, at various times in our lives, we have these questions, but we really don't focus on the spirituality component of it until it's our last days. So let's deal with it now while we have the time, the energy to explore these ideas, and see where it takes us.
Right, right. My next question for you, actually, the process of writing a book.
Mhm.
How long does it take you to write a book, and when do you actually know this is it?
Hmm.
This is what I'm going to put out. Because sometimes when you're writing something, you always want to go back and probably add something. But when it comes to the point, you're like, all right, I'm done. I got
Yeah.
all the information I want to put out. I'm not adding anything else to it. I'm putting it out just like that.
Yeah, I'm in that process right now. I'm writing my sixth book, and I'm like, I was supposed to come out with it by the end of this year. I was trying to do 3 books in 3 years. I did the Boule in 2019. I did a Pot to Piston, and this, well, sorry, 2020. I did Pot to Piston in 2021, and I'm sorry, 19, 20, and 21. 21 supposed to be the unknown known, but number one, the process of writing a book is, what is it that you're passionate about? For me, I'm a perspective writer, so I love to look at history and then debunk it, challenge it, or agree with it, but break it down so that I'm just not, again, those articles that give you a couple sentences and a couple bullet points is not enough to confirm my belief or not. Let's do some digging. So I like to go in, and I have a passion of, I guess you could say I'm a literal archaeologist, um, archaeologists like to dig in and dig on, in certain sites to dig and find the truth of what was here before in the ground. I like to dig in ideas. I want to find that original idea and, expand on it. But you find out when enough is enough when the book is being written. For me, it's worked where I spend time in my altar. I stay connected with my ancestors, and I ask them, to send me whatever it is that I feel that you feel is necessary. I'm open to it, but it does come to a point where, like, okay, cut it off, hard stop. Anything else is going to be part two or to be another book. So I'm at that point now where I feel like I've got enough information to write this book. But writing, to me, really, I don't worry about how it's received if you write in a way that perspective writing is. It's like we're having this conversation. This right here could, if you put it in script format, that's a book. So the traditional way of writing, the European standard of writing, they're all caught up into subjects and predicates and pronouns. I'm like, look, I'm gonna speak directly to you so that you understand what it is I'm saying, have like a conversation. And I attribute that to the writing style of Anthony Browder. He's the one that first exposed me to that. And it made sense to me because at the time, as I said, I was getting F's and D's in writing. So I was like, well, how am I gonna be able to write what I want to say if I'm getting F's in their eyes? Just write how you feel, write how you speak. And that's the best form of communication because everybody out here isn't trying to outdo someone scholastically. They say that average reading level is fourth grade
Right.
for most citizens in this country. So you don't have to write on a scholastic or collegiate level. Just speak real and make it simple, and it's not dumbing it down. It's just just speaking real, and that to me works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell us about your new book that's out now. Pop the Piston. What was the
Yeah.
mindset of actually writing that book?
So here's the cover right here, Pot the Piston. This book was birthed from me being fired from working with the National Boss after working at the National Basketball Association for 12 years. I was fired abruptly on March 13, 2017. Not because of I did something wrong at work. I had great reviews. Never raised though. I gotta say that. I worked after that for 12 years, never got a raise. Got promoted, but more work, no money. But nevertheless, they let me go because of what I post on social media. which is information pertaining to the upliftment and advancement of Black people. I talk about history all the time. I talk about health. I talk about politics, and do it in a way that it's not to be controversial, but it's to get us to think and reclaim our minds. Well, obviously that goes against their brand, especially when you got an 80%, labor force on the basketball court every night. We can't have them reading that. They're gonna wise up. So
Right.
I took it as, they let me go, and I had to make a decision. I was at a crossroads because I just got kicked off of this corporate plantation, which I've always wanted. I don't want to work for anybody, but I had to deal with my money, which I was low on, and I didn't understand money. I never had taken the time to learn about money, and most folks don't until it's too late. So this gave me an opportunity to make a decision of either going back and finding another corporate plantation owner to hire me for a couple of months or years, and then let me go in there, ready, uh, or learn about finances, because this is what we all work for anyway. We get up every day, everything is about money, but that's the one thing we understand the least. So I decided to become financially literate, and that financial literacy brought me to the awareness of the importance of learning how to create passive income, learning how to make money work for you instead of you working for it. It evolved into me creating the crypto woke financial sustainability movement. And then it made me realize, okay, as always, I like to run my mouth. I know people don't have time. Put it on paper. So I created the book. I wrote the book, Apatapisin, Intergenerational Wealth Planning for Black People.
Yeah, round of applause for that, man.
Give
Congratulations on
thanks.
that, man.
Give thanks.
My next question for you, my last question for you is
Mm-hmm.
cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you're very involved in. You also teach it. When did you actually become aware of cryptocurrency and how crypto is the future of financial stability?
2015, late 2015, a friend of mine had just said to me, "Yo, man, you need to get some Bitcoin and Ethereum." And I was like, "I don't even know what this is, but on the strength that I know you, I'm gonna go ahead and do it." But I also realized that, interestingly enough, coming out of the last recession, I had lost $250,000 out of my 401k, and I was in the housing market. I had bought a couple of houses, and they got foreclosed, so my credit was messed up. And I was like, okay, that's because I got into something and didn't vet it. I didn't understand how it worked. So I said, okay, I'm going to put some money in this Bitcoin and this crypto and this Ethereum, but I'm going to take the time now and learn about it. And when I did the diligence, and this is one thing I always tell folks is, rich folks have this quote that they, I guess, know, and that is, if you're not spending 5 hours a week learning about finances, you're being irresponsible.
Mm.
And it's called the 5 hour rule. So I decided I was going to learn this 5 hour rule and apply it in finances. And so, and mind you, the 5 hour rule can be applied in anything. If you want to be a chef, put in 5 hour rules to become a master. So I understood that 5 hours a week is roughly 42 and a half minutes a day. And I started spending literally chalking out that time. Now I don't have, so I got the time, right? So
Right.
I decided I was going to take 45 minutes a day, and I was going to learn about finances. Started reading books, watching videos, listening to lectures, doing the things I hated because it was over my head. But after doing it for a while, and those 5 hours started adding up, I started building my base, and I started becoming aware. And then things started clicking for me. So, the whole idea of, and I know I got seriously off the tangent of your question.
Are you
um,
good?
okay, but I understood that, understanding finances is the key, because once you understand finances, then you can free your time up. When you can free your time up, meaning I can fire my boss because I don't have to clock in every day, because I learn how to make passive income and it works for me instead of me working for it. That I own my time. If you own your time, then you can focus on the things that you really feel you were born to do. When we were kids, we grew up, having all these ideas of what we like to explore in life. And then we got old enough where money got in the way. We were told to go to get the high school degree, then we're told to go to college. And then when you do those type of things, then the bills, because you want to have things, you want to have material, you want to have a car, a house, etc. Those things cost. So how are you going to pay for it? So you spend the majority of your time working to pay for those material items that we're told is the denotation of success. So we do those things at the peril of prohibiting or prolonging the ability to create retirement income, stuff that we can retire on, money that in our golden years will be there for us. On top of the fact that we put them in these money models that create very little return. We put it in the stock, we put it in 401ks, we put them in our savings account, and they give us 1 or 2%. Well, with crypto, I learned that crypto is a totally new, different way of conceptualization of money. And it's not the future, it's the present. It's going to be the present into the future. We're seeing it right now. And cryptocurrency has the ability to give people returns of not your traditional 401k and stock market returns of 1.8% over 4 years, but 4 and 5 figure digit returns. So this is an opportunity that anybody, despite your ethnicity, despite how much money you don't have to have $100,000 to flip that into something. People are taking a few $100 and turning it to several $1,000s. And then when you add it to compounded interest and you put that key into a compounded interest, is a way to create not only wealth for yourself, but intergenerationally. So learning about finances to me is something that is profound, and it was purposely omitted from our educational experience because they need us, as Rockefeller said, John D. Rockefeller said, that I do not want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. So we've been conditioned to be worker bees. We've never been taught that we could work for ourselves. We've been told that we got to get education so that we can work for somebody else and hopefully they'll hire us, and then have to wait and hope that they'll keep us long enough that we have enough money saved to retire on. So that's the whole, and I live that, and each of us will live that at one point or another in your life. One day you're going to get fired, laid off, and if you're lucky, you retire. But in most cases, they say the average person has a job keeps a job for 4.2 years. So if you're 20 years old or 25 years old and you're working into labor force till you're 65, you're going to have over 10 jobs over that lifetime. And most of us will not put enough away to retire on until it's later on in our life and it's too late.
Wow.
I know it's a lot. Yes, sir.
Thanks for breaking that down because, I'm trying to get into crypto myself. My problem is I don't know how to trade. I just buy the Bitcoin. I buy like $100 of Bitcoin, right? And I let it sit there and then, watch it, grow. And then after I get the money, that's why I cash out.
Facts. Now here's the thing. You don't have to trade. That's the thing is, trading is risky. Is you risk gains and losses. It's okay to what they call hodl or hold on for dear life and let it just sit there. It's okay to do that because this is compounded interest. And if you cash it out, I would suggest not to, because if you let it sit, if you look at what Bitcoin is today, it's at 49,000. Last year, this time it was at, I think, under 20,000. So it already doubled if you kept it there for a year. What was it the year before that? It was under 10,000. Right. So the point is that crypto has the ability to give you these 4 and 5 figure returns and figure returns. And if you let it sit and you understand the game of compounded interest, then you can allow that growth to happen, and it excels over time. Those first few years, you're going to see some growth, but you're going to see some serious growth if you let it continue to sit. And then you also continue to put in. You put in another $20 a month, or you put in $100 a month that we was, the money we spend frivolously, take a percentage of that and put it into an investment. If it's not crypto, it could be in something else that gives you a compounded interest return of 100% or more. The stock market gives you less than 2%. So, and then don't be quick to cash out. A lot of people get into crypto and they get in when it's high because it's hype. People bought a lot of Bitcoin when it was 66,000 and now it's 49,000, and they're mad because they felt they lost. But if you let it sit and you look at this next year or 6 months from now, you'll see that growth. We're going to get back to 66,000 and beyond, not only because of speculation, but because the world is preparing for that. We have the metaverse. We have NFTs. We have blockchain technology that's coming on the scene that's going to be needing cryptocurrency to exist. We just have to stop jumping in with both feet and not knowing what's going on, or paying thousands of dollars to hear someone dangle a carrot in front of you and they never really telling you anything. I teach folks how you can learn how to manage crypto by yourself. You don't have to be part of any group. You can do it yourself and manage it yourself. But the most important thing is to figure out with finances, what are you investing for? What is that number? What is your monthly number? Like, we all have that monthly expense number every month. We're spending money, be it on rent, mortgage, insurance, food, entertainment, whatever. That's a roundabout number, and our income is affixed to that to take care of it. But if you lose your income, you can't address that expense. Well, if you use cryptocurrency or other investments like that, if you take that monthly number and multiply it by 12, that's the amount of money you need to have for the year to cover your expenses. That's what I call the FEN, the financial endurance number. So when you know what that number is, then when you're looking at cryptocurrency or any type of investment and you reach that number, cash out and use that to pay for your expenses. Then you can fire your boss. And it's an interesting thing that we have to give them a 2 weeks notice. They call us, professional etiquette to give them 2 weeks notice, but they can. I was a victim of that.
Yeah.
They didn't give me no notice. Even let me go back and get my stuff. They had to mail me my stuff. So the point is that we have to start thinking smarter and working smarter than harder. And the thing is, this is not new. Rich white folk have been doing this for generations. And now that we're in the information age, this information is available for anyone. All you have to do is just don't deviate from the plan. Just follow the plan and you'll get the same results.
Right. So the more money the more Bitcoins you buy, the more of a big investment you might get back. I mean, the more money you might get back. Or
Absolutely.
if I put $100 each month in my account, so the more I put in my account, the more I'm gonna get back if I want to cash out.
Absolutely, because crypto is, instead of shares, like if you buy stock, you buy more stock, obviously you get a bigger return if it performs well, right?
Right.
Stock market the stocks don't really jump as well as cryptocurrency does. But if you were to put more money into crypto, they're called units instead of shares. So if you have 1 unit of, let's just say, Ethereum, and Ethereum right now is at $4,000. So if you have 1 unit, then Ethereum jumps up to $5,000. That 1 unit you have is now worth $5,000. If you decide that I want to put another unit, I want to purchase another unit's worth, and in this case, it'll be $5,000 worth. A lot of money in, but you don't have to put $4,000. You can put in $2 worth, and you'll have an incremental percentage of that Ethereum. So if you are adding up, you're putting in $100 a month, that's $1,200 by the end of the year. So now you have, instead of the $4,000 worth, because you have 1 unit, I'm sorry, not the money, the monetary value. If you have 1 unit and you purchased enough to now have 1.5 units, well, if Ethereum is 4,000, then you actually have $6,000, because it's 4,000 plus a half of a unit is 2,000. So you got $6,000. So yeah, it definitely builds in your ability to earn, and again, long term, because Ethereum last year, I mean, you got to look at what Ethereum was worth last year, and I think it was less than $1,000 or around $1,000. So it's 4 times its value in 1 year, and it went as high as it almost reached 5,000 a few months ago. But it's going to surpass, and that's the beauty about crypto, is that Ethereum is the next highest coin, and it's not even 5,000, whereas Bitcoin is hovering over nearly $50,000. So that's a lot of room that Ethereum could get. So if you were to buy some Ethereum now, I would say 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, when Ethereum is 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, that $100 you put in there, you're going to be loving yourself. You're going to be loving yourself because you put it there. And they say, don't invest money you're not willing to lose. So absolutely that. Don't put all your total life savings into it. But again, if you have a liquidation plan, why am I investing? That's the issue that I think a lot of us, as far as Black people, run into, is we just want to brag about that we got a digital portfolio. Doesn't mean nothing if they trip on the cord and the power grid goes out. You can't eat digital money. So have a tangible liquidation plan. I want to buy something that is tangible. For me, land is the thing you invest in, because now I can live off of it, I can monetize it, I can eat off of it, etc. You can't eat digital money, but you can live off your land. So use that crypto to purchase land, to purchase the business, to purchase your freedom, those type of things.
Absolutely, man. Round of applause for that, man. Thanks for breaking that down, man. Thanks for
Yes,
breaking
sir.
that down. Hey man, that's the end of social conversations, man. Brother, is there anything you want to any closing remarks you would like to do with the social nation?
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give thanks for this platform, brother. I appreciate you.
Anytime.
And I give thanks for all the work that you're doing. I give thanks for all your followers. I'm sure that they're adhering to your messages. I hope there was something, at least one thing I said that stuck to the wall for you. If you are looking for more information about the work that I'm doing, you can go to cryptowokemovement.com. That's cryptowokemovement.com. I'm on IG, Facebook at CryptoWoke or in Ishangi. You can find me there. I do teach courses. I teach financial literacy courses, and I also teach cryptocurrency courses. You'll find that information on the cryptowokemovement.com site. And I look forward to my goal is to reach and elevate in the space of financial literacy 3,000 families. That's my goal. This is a movement. So my goal is to get 3,000 families to become financially literate. And when you're at that point, we're all owning our time, then let's see what we can do collaboratively. How about if you and I and a bunch of other folks have, supreme credit scores, have enough savings that we can invest to become philanthropists in our own right and invest in other opportunities and other people's ideas. And we start addressing the needs that we've been wanting for so long that Marcus Garvey has talked about that not a leader hasn't addressed since his time. We're looking for folks to address our needs when we can do it ourselves. We are able-bodied, spiritually founded, and our culture backs us up, and our ancestors are rooting for us to reclaim those days of those luxurious days of Kemet. We can bring Kemet back into today, and I hope that we understand that in order to do that, you have to have financial literacy as your base. You have to be able to be on top of your money game, and not have to ask a bank or crowdfund our freedom. But give thanks out.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
So, Social Nation, I got the links to his website and his YouTube channel below. So make sure you go check it out. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. Um, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on live. If you didn't join us on live, if you're watching the rerun, we appreciate you watching the rerun. If you're at home, just listen to all platforms we're on, with Spotify, Apple Podcast. We appreciate you for watching as well. Shout out to Vinny, shout out to Dad, shout out to Mac who couldn't make it today. Shout out to the whole Social Nation. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, it's right there at the bottom on the ticker. It's Saucy Nation 18. Cash App us if you'd like to make a donation. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show, hit me up at Social Nation. Social Conversation 18 at gmail.com. Also, the email link is also in our bio as well. Don't forget to hit up Teespring, get some official social conversation merchandise. And we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got sweatshirts, we got masks, we got even stuff for the pets. We got pet hoodies and everything. It's winter time, so it's getting cold out here. It's getting cold out
Right.
here. And shout out to our sponsors, Cook A Vodka. Shout out to Holistic Remedies. Don't forget to use that promo code HIB Saucy. At checkout, you get 10% off. 10% off. Also, I haven't any updates yet on the TV network, but the TV network is coming next year. So if you would like to have your podcast, whether you have a podcast, whether you're a movie director, you like to have your content on a network, it's going to be 24/7 streaming network. Just hit me up at Saucy Nation TV at gmail.com, and I will give you all the information as well. Uh, Brother, you're officially associate alumni, so you're welcome back anytime
Six.
to join us. If you want to be
Word.
part of our panel, you could as well. Just
Absolute.
God bless you, brother, and keep working
Yes,
hard,
man.
man. I appreciate you being on.
Give thanks, man. Yes,
Peace
man.
and love.
Bless. All right.